Hey kids. All right, here we go with Screwtape Letter number 9. First, I wanted to say I mentioned in an earlier post, one of the earlier letters, maybe even the first one, um, that the demons refer to this young man that they're following in his life day to day and learning about humans by what he does. Um, they refer to him as the patient. They don't call him the man, the boy, the whatever. They call him the patient, and that kind of been bugging me. I'm trying to figure out patient. There has to be some significance to that. I mean, Lewis, everything he writes is so deep. I'm like, there's got to be something to that. And I think I kind of figured out, at least for me, I think what it's about. Our pastor a couple of weeks ago made reference to what he called the sickness of humanity. Um, and I paraphrase, but basically we're born pretty much a mess. In our humanness, we're weak, we're lost, we're spiritually sick, and hence then our patientness. So I'm thinking obviously the demons probably get that more than we do, our patientness. They probably understand it better than we do, and they definitely take full advantage of it. But I think I'm starting to catch on to this patient thing. All right, let's go ahead and talk now about letter 9. There's some ouches, I call them, coming up in this one. Some things that hit home for me personally. Um, all of it hits home, pretty much anything I've read here in the Screwtape letters. But this one in particular is got some stuff that's like, oh, being written to me. So in this letter, the young demon is reminded by his supervisor that humans are most susceptible to the influences and the pullings of our sensual pleasures when we're in a spiritual trough. Now, the last letter used that terminology also, the spiritual trough, that hole, that valley, where when we're the lowest is when we're most susceptible to all those human pleasures and pullings that can obviously get us in some trouble. Um, Things like sex, alcohol, whatever it is that we try to use to make us feel great about ourselves. And we do that probably too sometimes when we're spiritually on the upside, but definitely on the low side as well, or more so actually. We're more vulnerable then when we're in a spiritual hole, when we're seeking to fill a void with whatever we can that feels good at the moment. And again, that's a seriously dangerous place to be spiritually. And the demons are going to take advantage of that. They call it exploiting the trough. And they said they do that as an attempt to get the man's soul and give him nothing in return. No kidding. The next part of the letter, speaking of pleasures, is here it gets really interesting. Screwtape acknowledges that only God is the creator, the inventor of healthy, normal, satisfying pleasures. By the way, those which the devil is incapable of even producing. So, got me thinking, okay, so any human pleasures coming from anywhere besides God, and even those that are inherently from God but have been twisted and perverted, are destructive, right? I think I just defined pop culture, but anyway, yes, apparently the demons get a lot of mileage out of confusing us, taking those natural good human pleasures and distorting them into something else. And it even says sometimes to the point where they're no longer, those feelings are no longer even natural or even pleasing to us anymore. And as Screwtape says, their formula for our destruction is based on our ever increasing craving for a diminishing pleasure. One last part of the letter. Another way that demons exploit the trough that we're in is to capitalize on our thinking that this spiritual period of life, this trough that we're in right now, is going to last forever. They love for us to think that. It's not true, but they love for us to think that. Where I'm at now, I'll never get out of, I'm stuck. We get in that funk, that permanent condition thinking. And that, when we get there, it takes us really in two different directions. We can become despondent and isolated in our own thoughts, convince ourselves then, in some cases, that the only way we can get out of this spiritual or this life hole is solely on the strength of our own will. Well, everybody loves a good story about, I pulled myself up from my bootstraps and I did it all by myself. And there's nothing wrong with pulling up your bootstraps, but I guess I would say, whose bootstraps are those? And definitely, those are God's. And but we get in that trough and we think we can do this ourselves, and we can't. That's one way we go when we get stuck in a trough. And the demons like us to be there too. Or sometimes we're in a trough. We get ourselves very comfortable in mediocrity and moderation in our spiritual state, and we kind of get content really in the trough. And as Screwtape talks about, when we get in that kind of mode, we even can kind of get into thinking that our Christianity and our beliefs are, just a passing phase, just something I'm doing right now. Doesn't mean I'll always do this. I'll hang on to this till I find something better. So, I mean, there's some ouchies there. There's some things there that are going to, if we really think about them, kind of wake us up a little bit. Where are you? Where am I when I get in those troughs? Am I relying on God like I need to be, or am I thinking I can fix it myself? Or am I just kind of blah, like me, whatever, somewhere in the middle's okay. So just something to think about there. Actually, in the next letter, there's some more thinking to do, so we'll get there. But thanks for checking out this one. I hope you're reading along. Thanks.